Hello, my name is Robert Schmid, also known as Mr. IoT. Welcome to another coffee chat. Today it's a special coffee chat because I don't have one guest, but I have three guests. And welcome everyone, welcome. I'm gonna go alphabetically here. Alijan, Jim, Samir, how are you all doing?
Very well.
Good. Yourself?
Doing good. I feel like I have the busiest background here. You guys are really on target. We're doing a special show today, and we're doing a special show because this is coming out at the same time as Virtual LifeWorks is going on, and we're releasing a new app. So with that, I wanted to get a variety of people together because this was really a work of different resources, different skill sets all coming together. But this time around, we're finding out that DubDub has a twin. And the twin's name is Ola, and I want to give this to Samir. Samir, why are we talking about twins? What's this all about? What are we doing in this new version, the third version that is of the Virtual Factory by Deloitte?
Sure. So we're doing twins because it's cool. It's.
Are you a twin?
Actually, I am not. I wish.
You can do that now. You know, you can have that done.
Yeah. That is true. It's scary, but true. My wife can't deal with one of me. I don't know what would happen with two.
Mm.
So we're talking about twins because a lot of companies are looking at understanding how they can exponentially change the way they develop products, the way they develop services around it, the way they manage their assets across the organization. And can you do it better if you have a digital replica of all of that information?
So it's called a digital twin then, right?
Correct. And there's many of them, actually. It's not really twin, it's a misnomer. If you think about the entire life cycle, let's talk about products right now. You can think of a twin for the product itself, which would be a 3D representation of the product and how it performs. You can think about a twin for the factory in which that product is produced. You can think about a twin for the manufacturing process through which that duck is manufactured. So how it's assembled, how the different components are created. And then finally, when the product is put in service, you can think about a twin for how it performs in the field. And you can take all of that information and do lots of great things with it. So there's actually multiple twins if you think about it.
I find it ironic if you think about it, right? So the virtual factory by Deloitte, it's been around now for a couple of years, and it originally started because we couldn't bring a full factory onto a conference and a show floor. And so we said, well, let's bring a virtual representation, or if you wish, a digital twin of the factory to people through augmented reality, right? And now this year, we are actually creating a digital twin in a virtual reality. Isn't that sort of ironic, Alijan, when you heard us talking about what we're doing and when you came on the project? What did you think about this? Did that irony really make you laugh?
It really made me laugh. I mean, coming out of a stressful actual digital twin implementation for a multi-billion-dollar company to all of a sudden talking about rubber ducks within 1 minute, it was coming really fish out of water, if I can make a pun about the situation.
So Alijan, how real is this what we're doing here? I mean, there's a playful part to that, right? And it's, for me, I really try to engage our users, the people who watch, into sort of relating to what we do. But I mean, this isn't all fun and games. I mean, you said you came out of a real implementation. What did you bring from the real implementation into here? Do what people see, is that real? Is that what's really happening?
Yes. What we're doing right now is actual real use cases that we are talking about with real clients that we're implementing to real companies. And what we're building here is something that I wish we had with me when we were talking to actual business users, executives, trying to explain this complex concept using this very interactive and real life example. So what we're doing definitely is very real, just using object that everybody can relate to.
So I want to go to Jim and say hello, Jim. It's fun to have you on, and I think you represent sort of really yet another skill set that was needed in order to create the virtual factory. Because when we created it, not only did we create an app, but we created a comic book, and we create physical things too. So, but one of the things, in order to create the comic and the application, we needed creative people. And in particular, we're coming out with a teaser that's coming out the same day when the show comes out. And you are the voice on that. So we actually took a true voice actor. Jim, tell us a little bit about yourself so that people get the variety of skills and resources that we brought to bear for this.
Yeah, I'm a voice actor. I'm an actor basically, but I happen to do a lot of different kind of voices and impressions and things like that. I did George W. Bush quite a bit for that old Tonight Show with the Jay Leno, and I do other characters as well, like Colin Firth's voice. I do a lot of Colin Firth for trailers and things like this. And Ian McKellen as well. As often I've done so Ian McKellen and Tommy Lee Jones. I don't know if you know the great actor Tommy Lee Jones. I've done his voice quite often. It's always a pleasure. And
do they ever come to you and complain to you? Do they ever call you and say, Jim, that's a lousy me?
Never. They don't know where to find me. I have a digital twin, and they usually go to talk to him. So I basically do all voices for people that need voices. I've been lucky to do it for animation and all kinds of weird things. This was just a new application where they needed a kind of an old-timey news voice, an old narrator from the 30s and 40s. And that's something that I've done quite a bit for TV and films.
So Jim, what's your favorite digital twin impersonation?
It kind of depends on the mood, I think. But I do like Robert De Niro quite a bit because it comes in handy. What can I say? It's good. It's good. But whatever people need, that's my favorite.
Awesome. So let me follow up with one question for you. When you first saw that we wanted you to voice act behind a rubber duck in a comic, was this the first time to work with a consulting company, do some industrial stuff, or have you done that before?
No, I've done all kinds of things. I've done for many companies, all sorts of stuff. I've been the voice of different product brand characters before. Although I'm not the voice of the duck, I'm just the narrating on the Deloitte thing. But for example, I just got finished with a session. I do Colonel Sanders for the KFC brand. I don't know if you heard of them. I manufacture kind of a edible chicken. It's quite good. And I was the voice of the Honda Element when that automobile came out. So it's really interesting when a company finds they need to, and it's a good idea, to try to give some identity to a brand, to a product even a service. If you can give some sort of human factor in it, like you're doing with the cartoon, that's very human, and with the voiceover and so forth. It tells a story. It builds affinity for the brand because people like stories and they like characters. We love them.
Samir, the duck. I talk about this often, right? People ask me, why did you pick a duck? How do your clients respond to this, that there is a duck that we're producing in the virtual factory by Deloitte? Does that actually help with showing it to people? What conversations have you had? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I would say we've taken the duck that we all played with as 2-year-olds and supercharged it, hypercharged it, and brought it into the digital age. If you think about the kind of things that the Duck 3.0 is made with, there's software, there's electronics, there's motors, there's sensors. And so really, if you think about it at the gist of it, most products have those elements as their ingredients, if you will. And so you can have a real conversation with clients while really using something that is very relatable to them. And the way we have made the story about, recognizing problems with Duck in, the life that it had after Duck 2.0 and taking it back to the factory and managing, what parts should be changed based on the issues that it's facing. I think that is really relatable to clients because if you think about it, engineers, when they design products, all they were taught in school is to have the best performance. They were really not taught about, thinking how products perform in different temperatures and different humidity conditions, and what suppliers are parts going to come from, and so on and so forth. So we've taken all of this information, this wealth of information that really is important to design, and we've brought it all together and really made it real for our clients, and very relatable.
When we talk about use cases, and I don't know, this is for Samir or Alijan, give us some examples. Maybe Alijan, tell us what particular use cases have we put in this year, and please talk about how you played with the different parameters in the application, because there's going to be a new feature coming out a month later that really relates to those, and it was pretty funny. I had a really good time with that, but you were really the brainchild behind it.
Thank you, Robert. One of the use cases we tried to bring to life was when a product comes out of the factory and gets shipped to a customer, it goes into a black hole in today's world. It's really hard to really keep track of each individual unit's story. So this duck, essentially, all the ducks that are produced and go out to customers get played, get thrown around, and we want to know what their condition is. Engineers want to know, as Samir said, how the product is performing and what the customers think about it. So one of the use cases that we're showing is, as these ducks are played with and swimming in the water, their digital twin records the activities and actions and sensors are picking up if the flippers are wobbling, and then send information real time back to the engineers who designed the duck. So the engineers can keep track of all the units out there, looking at a screen and seeing each individual duck out in the world. And some of them are shining in yellow, some of them are shining in red if they have a problem, or if the users are saying something is wrong, and they can zoom in, read more about an individual real duck's issue, and then open up their design tools to design a better flipper so that they can swim better in muddy water conditions, for example. And our clients can really relate to this, from airplane engines to submarines to cars that are out there being used, and how engineers can take this information real time and make a better product for the next time around.
So when we started out in version 1, it was just one factory line, right? It was like one long factory line. It had a marker that was 40 feet long, I think 5-6 feet wide. And then the year after, so last year, we expanded and said one whole factory floor. This year, we actually went outside. What do you see outside now when you go outside and when you look at the new use case? What's there? What does it look like?
Right. So we completed the full circle, actually, from the factory to the person who is using the duck, the customer who buys and plays with it, and the engineer, the product designer who designed the product. So it's a never-ending circle of design, make, play, and keep repeating until forever. So the person who's outside of the factory is right now a customer. This customer receives the product. They get to, in our app, put the duck into a virtual racetrack, drive around, and the duck, while swimming, the digital twin of the duck, if you kind of think about it in the movies, it's the Iron Man suit and the little digital version of the suit talking back to the duck, if you think about it, telling the user, hey, my leg is spinning, hey, you're driving me too fast. If you drive like this next month, my flippers are gonna break. So those are all the things that happen outside of the factory that now we have access to. And the factory also sees, because everybody has access to the digital twin through the digital thread, which we'll talk about in a bit. And the factory knows, like, okay, you're driving too fast. We're gonna send you a new flipper every month, because we know without you telling us what kind of a truck driver you are. And so we're gonna take care of you, that you're never gonna be behind on your races. So that's what happens outside the factory.
And you get to actually design your own duck and see which design is the best, right? Do I put bigger batteries in, or bigger motor, and how fast does it go, or go around corners and so forth? So that'll be really cool.
Correct, right. So one of the features is giving the customers ability to configure their duck. So this is not just the one duck. As you see, it's made out of a few modules. There's the body module, there's the flipper module, there's the engine module, and then there's the whole shell module. And we will allow our customers to pick and choose what kind of flippers they want, what kind of motor they want, and dynamically see the expected performance of the stock once they receive it. And also this allows the company to optimize which combinations are profitable for them, and seeing which options are also popular by the customers, push certain configurations forward, and also take some configurations back because they're not profitable. So it was very cool to come up with different options on what flippers could look like outside of my day job.
And without trying to do a Dr. Evil impersonation, because Jim is here, I won't even try, but I believe there are 2.1 trillion configurations.
You happen to know which my favorite part of the whole scenery is, the whole racetrack?
Which?
The jump. I can't wait to see screenshots of the jump of the duck. I have a feeling we're going to get some fun stuff. Sami, I'm curious. With the virtual factory by Deloitte app, we've really taken a step into the virtual world. Let's just, I don't know, if I take this a step up from there, how has technology impacted your life in some ways? I'm always curious about personal impact, but also our clients, particularly nowadays. What do you see being accelerated? What are you being excited about in this? And what are you thinking, well, I want to get back to some of the other stuff again?
Yeah. So I'll give you sort of three anecdotes here. One, I would say internally within Deloitte, I have actually seen face-to-face a lot more people, I would say, in the last few weeks than I typically meet when I'm out traveling. So that actually has been a great positive.
Let me find the clapping button. There's a clapping button somewhere. Hang on, let me clap for you. Okay, I can't, oh, here reactions, clap. Clapping, yes. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. From a client perspective, you know, something interesting happened with one of my aerospace and defense clients. It's one of those clients where, you know, very secure place. God forbid if you ever are to even take your phone out, let alone take a picture, you'll probably be escorted out and never be able to come back in. Because of this situation, literally in a matter of 3 weeks, they were able to completely change their policies, and we're having video conferencing with them in that facility. And I think this situation is forcing clients to think very differently. It's almost like that adage, you know, never let a crisis go to waste. It is really happening in real time in terms of, you know, clients that, let's say I was doing cost reduction work with and, you know, had run into cultural barriers with regards to executing that. They now suddenly are saying, okay, give me more. So the situation, I think, is accelerating a lot of digital transformations, lots of new ways of working, things that had been, you know, people had reasons to complain against. Now they're finding that there is really no other way out. And that's accelerating transformation.
Alajan, what do you think?
I completely agree. The message that the duck is giving has become ever more important. The message that the duck is giving is, if the information is digitally connected, you don't need to be in the same room to design something. You don't need to be in the same room to see if the product is broken. You don't need to be in the same room with the customer to see a complaint. So I believe that this is going to be a very useful asset for the companies that Samir is talking about to quickly adapt to this new world, to have a tool and a story and a product and a toy to explain to their executives how simple this is and how this is going to really help them, using an example everybody can relate to.
It's interesting to me, right? Because I see all the same things. I mean, I love what Samir said, but there's people I've talked to on the phone many, many times, and for the first time I saw their face on the call. And in some way that's sad, but in other ways that's what's happened now, and it's the reality. And I was really excited about it. I said to Matt, someone I work with very closely, I haven't seen you that many times in the last year as I've seen you in the last month, and we both laughed and chuckled. And we have a good relationship. It's not because anything is wrong. It just happens to be that way. But also, I know how I get antsy here. You know, I miss sort of like this hanging out with someone. You know, I don't even drink that much, but I miss a drink. You know, sitting down and having a drink and then joking who drinks what or something like that. So that social interaction is different and weird. And, you know, and then again, I have these calls and I get super excited about them. So Jim, what was you said you just got off something. Can you tell us what you got off? What was the last thing you got off of?
Oh, just now, yeah, I do the radio and TV, some of the TV for KFC for Colonel
Oh,
Sanders.
okay.
So yeah, and they've had to adjust a lot of their advertising. For instance, you're not going to hear them say "finger licking good" for a little while.
How
Nobody
often do you
likes to.
actually get to help them with the text? I mean, you're a funny character, not just by your voice, but it's like, and then we make up some text for you, and then you got to read this, and you go like, well, I don't know about that. Do you get to improvise? Do you get to make up content?
Yeah, not really. Not in a 30-second spot. It's just too tight, or a 15-second, or God, I do 10-second commercials. So no, there's not a lot of wiggle room. But I do put, at this point, I've been doing it for almost 4 years. So I will make a little suggestion here and there. Very, I'm very much like a team member. But on other more long form things, I've done quite a bit of improv. In fact, I used to do whole improvised campaigns for different companies. I did a lot of, back when I was younger, I did a lot of grocery store campaigns where I would go into the store and interview people, which of course is not scripted. Sometimes companies try to script those, but I think we always can tell that it's a bunch of shills. Whereas if you just interview real people, they often have the most amazing things to say. And I could help them find the humor and make little jokes and things like that. So I like to improvise. I really enjoy it. But when your message has to fit into a hole that big, there usually isn't much wiggle room for improv.
I'm laughing because these coffee chats are conversations, and people often ask me what I'm going to talk about, and I had no idea we're going to talk about improv today. And Alajan, who actually helped me with a whole list of things that he wanted me to go through, he's probably cringing right now because we're forgetting this and that. But I just watched Middleditch and Schwartz, and they make up a 30-minute long improv, like on the spot. They take a topic and talk about it, and it is unbelievable to me.
Middleditch and Schwartz.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. You got to look it up. Those two just go and make it up. It's unreal.
Well, I was on the Whose Line, the British Whose Line show, and I've done a lot of improv, and we used to also train back in New York where I got started. We used to train companies in improv because it's really good for team building. The one thing you have to train people to do, believe it or not, sadly, you have to train them to agree with one another, because most of us are seemingly hardwired to go, no. If you've ever been to, and I'm sure you have been to many creative meetings where we're like, okay, let's sort this out. What's a good idea? And some timid person goes, I have an idea. And if they're incautious enough to say it, they'll hear, yeah, no. More often than, okay, good, that sounds interesting. Hey, maybe onto that we can, the whole premise of improv that works so well in theater.
Yes, and.
Yes, and you know it. And but you have to train people to do it, because, and believe me, my wife runs a school. I've been involved with schools forever. People come in just ready to say no. They're so ready. And I don't know what it is about us, but the good thing is most of us can be trained out of it. And then it's a really great skill to be able to go, yeah, and to agree. Even if you don't agree, to say it well, and is a real talent. Like I used to argue a lot sometimes over the phone when I would do radio commercials for companies, and back in New York especially, and they wouldn't be there. The clients would be talking over not the internet, I guess it's just the phone line back then, or the satellite. And they'd have all these insane kind of little suggestions, like, can you make it sound happier, but he's really angry, and slow it down, but make it about twice as fast, just insane things. And I used to kind of go and have a problem with it, and sometimes dig in my heels. And then I learned from a great voice artist named Corey Burton that the best thing to do is to go, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And then just roll with it. And then there's no kind of barrier builds up, no kind of antagonism builds up. It's just and now I just do it as a matter of course. If someone says, and I'm sure whoever one of you was in on the session that I was doing, I probably said this, good idea. Because it is a good idea. It's generally always a good idea to do it. Whether it's possible or not, or whether it makes any sense is another topic entirely. But is it a good idea? Yes, let's run with it.
Rob, I would say the number of times I heard, yes, that's a great idea, and build on it in the work that we did for bringing this app to life is 10 times more than I hear in any of our normal client meetings.
Nice.
Where we try to push new thoughts and new ideas, and everybody's very resistant, and we try to find ways to get them past that. The team that you put together, composed of, you know, Hollywood scriptwriters, voice actors, engineers, graphic designers, everybody was building off of each other's ideas. Okay, the duck should have this. Oh my God, great! It should also do this, and the racetrack should have the jump on it. And it was such a amazing relief from hearing no all day from clients to be in this creative environment where ideas are being built on each other to create this. Thank you.
Good
Yes,
work.
and I think I'm not trying to play on yes and yes and what happens is it made me feel good, and I felt like it made the team feel good. And what it often does, the thing I keep forgetting when I say no instead of yes and is that one idea you don't really understand. Well, I don't really understand it the first time around. And when I say yes and to it, we build on it. And it might turn out to be a crappy idea at the end, but at least we tried it out.
Yeah.
Samir, in the sense of yes and, I'm gonna just start something. Are you okay to continue on with it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So for the next version, I'd like to create an app where we actually can physically step into it with a HoloLens or, you know, something where it's like it becomes three-dimensional, not by me holding an iPad, but by me being hands-free and interacting with people at different places. What do you think?
Yeah, Robert, I'm way ahead of you. You see right there, that's my digital avatar for the next app.
Oh.
No, I agree. Actually, being able to step into an entirely virtual world, if you will, to work with completely digital products, or have a way to augment something and sort of mix the physical and digital and do it completely in that sense, so you're immersed in it as opposed to looking from the outside in. I think that's a great idea, and we can also talk about some new cool state-of-the-art technologies that today, when computing has become so cheap, has made those things really accessible to even my daughter, I guess. And we should definitely think about that. I think it's a great idea.
Jim, you get to do yes and on top of that.
Yes, and I would like to be involved in some way.
To give a spoiler, perhaps one of the ideas that we're thinking for the next phase is augmented reality assembly and augmented reality repair. So if you think about it, individuals at the factory putting together these products can immerse themselves into the assembly process, where digital twins of the components will appear in front of their eyes, showing how they come together. So all you have to do is repeat the same motion with your hands to put the product together. Or let's say your duck has had an injury and the leg is broken and you have to fix it at home. Company knows and sends you the new flippers. And all you have to do is put on the AR goggles, and the digital twins of the components will show you where they need to go and what tool you need to pick up and fix. So we will all become trained assembly individuals who have never done it before. So I think that's really exciting, and that's definitely going to be in the next version.
So today, when this video comes out, not only going to get to watch a little bit of the background, a little bit of the people, you're going to be able to download the Virtual Factory by Deloitte, the next version, and play with Digital Thread and Digital Twin, created by Samir and Alajan and the team around them. And we're going to give you a teaser that's narrated by Jim. That's going to talk about the comic book that we're going to release in July. And that's when the racing will be ready too, right? Is that the right timeline, Alajan?
That is the correct timeline.
Awesome. So with that, our another coffee chat is coming to an end. Thank you so much for watching. If you missed any of today's show, please check out our playlist on YouTube, or go to a podcast, your favorite podcast, and check it out there. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye.